The GameDias Hermes P2 RGB Optical Replaceable Switch. This is an interesting keyboard. I'm Rio Gion and welcome to Rio Gion Keyboards. The front of the board looks very premium. They've done an excellent job making the board look more expensive than it actually is. The standard layout makes it easy to find keycap replacement for, and I dig the professional style font. I don't like the logo that's on top of the arrow keys. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it might just be for some of you guys. I like the fact that they included a volume wheel, but I find it odd that they decided to go with the media controls being bound to the F keys. I see that they still use the G keys where it's on the space bar and the B key, which I'm starting to think that it's the company trademark to have those keys there. I personally would much rather have a dedicated bank of macro keys because I believe that they have the extra space to add them. I noticed that there's an uneven lighting along the longer keys due to the placement of the LEDs. You can lock and unlock the keyboard with the function and the F11 key, which is interesting features when you have friends that don't know much about the keyboard. But if they have common sense or they're watching this video, then they will know how to open the keyboard. The blue shell on the switch makes it harder to pair with certain color combinations when looking at the keyboard from the position where you would normally be typing. The floating key design makes the keyboard easier to clean, and I dig this design a lot. If you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed yet, then hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for the latest content. This keyboard uses an optical switch with a black stem and blue outer shell. The interesting thing about this switch is that you can replace it on the fly. The optical switch has lasers that shoot through and detects when the switch is being pressed. Optical switches is something that's completely new to me, and it's interesting how you can replace the switches, because if something were to go wrong with one of the switches, then you can just replace it with a different one instead of having to replace the entire keyboard. I believe you can do this with other mechanical keyboards as well, but I don't think the process is as simple as just taking out the switch. Then again, if you know more about mechanical keyboard maintenance, then comment down below because I would love to know how the process works. This keyboard uses co-star stabilizers, but it's placed in a unique way similar to that of the Poseidon Z. So if you line up the stabilizers right where you would put the keycaps, then everything should just stay together. It's interesting how they set this up, and it just makes me think about how hard it would be to find replacement keycaps for this keyboard. At first, I thought the standard layout would make it easier to replace keycaps with, but after knowing about how the stabilizers are set up, I'm not sure if it's that easy anymore. I would still take cherry stabilizers over co-star because cherry stabilizers is just so much easier to clean, and most keycaps in the aftermarket will take that stem. The worst thing about this wrist rest isn't because it's made of hard plastic, but because it's not detachable. You are technically stuck with this wrist rest unless you saw it off. There's a nice line dividing the keyboard and the wrist rest, so it shouldn't be that hard to saw off the wrist rest. Then again, I haven't done it myself, so your mileage may vary. Non-detachable wrist rests are the worst because you're stuck with what the keyboard gives you. At least a detachable wrist rest, if you don't like it, then you can replace it with something else. This non-detachable wrist rest is the worst part about this keyboard. I believe that the keycaps are from the Viper V760, or it could be the other way around, but I have definitely seen these keycaps before, and I like them because the font is nice, but I can't say the same for the materials. It uses the typical thin ABS that's found in most gaming keyboards, and for this price point, it's alright, but I would want something like double shot ABS. Then again, it's kind of wishful thinking because the consumer either doesn't know about the higher quality keycaps, or they know and they just don't care. So often we get gimped on the keycaps, but there's always the aftermarket if you don't mind spending the extra money. However, in this case, I don't think you can find them. The flip-up feet does have rubber on them, so the board will stay planted on both angles. There's all of these design on the back of the board, which is nice, but you won't really notice them because they're on the back of the board. Looking at the back, it's harder to see the cutout that separates the board from the wrist rest. There's cable management velcros, which is nice, and the cable is braided, plus the USB tip is gold. Personally, I love how they make the cable because it ticks almost every single thing I would want from a cable. Because there isn't a USB pass-through, I would want the cable to be detachable, but it's kind of wishful thinking. The software is user-friendly in terms of figuring out what to do without having to look things up online. You do not get to macro every single key. Only the spacebar, B, and function key are macroable. Keep an eye out for this if you plan on buying this keyboard to edit lots of videos or play MMO games. An interesting feature is that there's a sound recorder mode where you get to record your sounds and play them when you assign them to certain keys. For this mode, you can set them on every single key, but I think it's more important that it should have the ability to macro every single key. So this is a missed opportunity on their end. I'm hoping for a software update where you can macro every single key because it would do wonders for this keyboard. I don't think that this company is as big, so the updates won't come as quickly, and I don't see the options to import and export profiles, so I'm guessing the community around this keyboard doesn't exist. The good thing is that there are these things that can be changed with time. So if you plan on buying this keyboard, make sure to tell your friends and family about it to raise awareness, and hopefully with enough people talking about it, we can influence the developers to update the software and give us the features that we want. The typing experience for the optical switches are quite enjoyable, but it's the wrist rest that's really cutting it. The switch is a lighter clicky switch, which is awesome because I love the switches, but the keycap really kills the enjoyment. It happened with the Viper V760 where I get finger fatigue after a while, and it's the same thing here. I don't know exactly why, but these keycaps are really killing the enjoyment after a while. I honestly believe that it's just me, and you guys would love typing on this keyboard if you give it a try. So I wouldn't say I'm coming up with excuses to type on this board, but I also wouldn't say that I'm avoiding to type on this board as well. It's the middle ground of enjoyable but not overly obsessed with. If you play MMOs or you edit lots of videos, I would say hold off on this keyboard until they update the software, because not only you don't get a bank of macro keys, you are limited to certain keys that you can macro. If you play FPS, then this keyboard might be up your alley, but try to find it with a red switch instead. And if you play RTS, then you might want to give this keyboard a try if you don't really use the macro functions. This keyboard looks great, and if you're the type of people that likes to show off, then this is the one for you, because this keyboard looks premium without spending the money for the premium look. If you plan on using your keyboard for both gaming and typing, plus you play all three of these genres, then I would say skip this one. If you just want a decent feeling keyboard and you want the RGB, also you don't plan on macros, then this keyboard should be on your shortlist. Pricing is always subject to change. You can expect to find this keyboard in the mid 130s. Honestly, I think there is a high chance this keyboard will go down in price, so I'll leave a link below, that like button for you to check out. Remember to click on the link regularly to get the best deal possible. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed yet, then hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to become part of the mighty notification squad. As always, have an awesome day.